Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another live stream here tonight. I'm gonna have to turn this on. Yeah, that's better. It's getting dark enough to where I can leave the blind open now. I can leave the blind open because the sun is setting a little bit faster. Hey Ryan, what's up, man? Thoughts on National Guard? I don't know. We'll see. I mean, tackling these big cities is kind of an uphill battle, the crime within them. But it is DC, so there has to be some type of authority that Trump has over it, considering that's where the capital is. So there's a lot of stuff here. It's a lot of stuff that we can react to. A lot of clips, I'm sure. A lot of Russia Ukraine clips, some other shit. Overturn gay marriage, Trump 2028. Yeah, that's going to be another Roe v. Wade, isn't it? I don't know. It's one of those interesting things to where there is a lot of, I don't know about a lot, but there is certainly momentum that's swinging in the opposite direction. You know, for so long, you were the ultimate bigot if you questioned gay marriage, and but now it's starting to swing in the opposite direction. But I heard there wasn't a high chance of that, even with the Supreme Court being conservative. I heard there wasn't a high chance of it. You got Pete Hegseth going on Fox News. Do you still trade crypto? I'm really not a trader. I mean, yeah, I do have a trading. I do a few trades, but I mainly hold crypto. So it's more of a long, like 6 to 12 months holding periods. Not really. I mean, you could call it. It's really not trading, but it's like buying a coin, holding it for a long period, letting it go up significantly, then trading it for, USDC or Tether. I do have a few coins that I do short-term trades with. I mean, I've had a few successful trades on Solana, but why is the Epstein files not getting released in the courts? I don't know. It's unfortunate because I know they're trying to get something out to people, and they've had so many issues with the Epstein stuff, so they're trying to do something, and now it looks like the judges are blocking the transcripts from being unsealed is what's going on, I believe. No, I agree with you that OnlyFans should be banned for sure. They're gonna try and they create straw mans and then say, well, I thought you were freedom and that was your thing. Well, the problem with OnlyFans is it rewards significant negative behavior, especially for younger people. It's a problem. If Elon came back to DC, would it be beneficial? Vance thinks so. Well, I think Vance just wants Musk's money, so he's inviting him back to the Republican Party, and I think Elon's a loose cannon. You can't really trust him, but his whole idea of the America Party, he probably realized it wasn't very practical. Doesn't make sense. It's a money drain. He's probably not even going to get candidates on ballots quick enough for 2026. And why would you go against Trump after dumping all of that money into Trump to help him win in 2024? I think Musk really likes attention, and he also is very emotional. You know, the best quote in your video today, that liberalism is extreme globalism. So true. Dude, I'll see these videos on X uh, where you see different people acting different ways, and just the comments. The comments, there's a lot of people that are very oblivious. There's a lot of people that are very oblivious to, certain types of people. It's like remarkable to see. But yeah, no, I mean, I definitely say I would equate, like, have you seen some of this? You see some of this stuff with just, black judges will let off somebody that, some dude that's black on for 6 months for doing this terrible crime, and then he'll go commit another horrible crime. It's like, Well, they do it like the buddy system with those judges. You see that a lot. And the United States, we've always, the country just has no identity because of the immigration. If we're a nation of immigrants, there's no, which obviously that's not, the portrayal of that is not correct. They have to portray, they have to make it that way to try and justify mass immigration, but that's not the correct portrayal of the United States. But there's no real, there's nothing to the country. The country is just a mosh pit of globalism. So thoughts on Dan Crenshaw? Yeah, slimy POS. Yeah, I mean neocon. You had to mute Musk. Guy never shuts up about AI. Yeah, dude, if you follow Musk on X and you constantly get his stuff, I'm starting to see more and more. I don't get his stuff ever. I think I follow him, but if you don't interact with it, it just kind of doesn't appear. Because I look at the For You timeline. I never look at the following timeline. Because like I don't follow anyone on X because I never look at the the timeline that's for following. You just look at the one that kind of curates to what you interact with. But Musk is just Musk's X account functions as just an advertising. I mean, it's great advertisement. Look how much engagements he gets, but it's just advertisement with Musk. So he's trying to sell this Valentine AI sex robot or something. I'm not even sure what it is. He's like they got these sex robots now. Yeah, there's a lot of clips. I'll go to some of these clips. I mean, they probably have like 50 clips from today. There was Trump talking about bringing the National Guard into DC. He was talking about Russia, Ukraine. So we'll get into some of these. Grok got suspended. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happens. You would think they would have it set up to where there's really no way Grok could ever get suspended. So it's interesting that happened, but it got restored right away. Got restored like 30 minutes after. Do you think we see a civil war in our lifetime again of some kind? I don't know. I think that's very hard to predict. I'd be pretty surprised. I mean, but you never know. You never know. But it's hard to say that there's going to be a legitimate another civil war. But again, I mean, nobody really. I mean, look at where politics was 10 years ago when Trump first entered. Look at where the Republican Party is compared to where it is now. It changes rapidly within 10 years. I mean, imagine what it's going to look like in 2035. Watched your World Trade Center Lego MOC video on which scale you wanted to buy. You bought the smallest one. 1 in 2000 scale with 982 pieces. The smaller model will look good on your bed desk. Yeah, you're gonna have to go with the smaller one if you want to fit it on a desk for sure. That one is the one behind me. I don't know what it's a bigger scale for sure. I mean, it's you're not gonna if they actually the one behind me, like if they made this, I mean, it would be like this would be like probably $300 a tower. I would imagine. It's an impressive build. It's an impressive build for sure. You have a sex robot. I'm sure you do. I see your comments. You're a degen for sure, William. Why is Ohio State not first? Because they were never going to be first. I mean, they lost a lot of talent. I think it is kind of a sham. I mean, I would put Ohio State first, more as a traditional. Well, you look at it. Yeah, sure, Ohio State lost their quarterback. They lost some, a lot of veteran defensive ends and stuff. But it's not. These other teams are not that the juggernauts. So I would say let's just give the nod to Ohio State because they won the national title last year. If there was a juggernaut team, I would say, all right, they should be first because Ohio State is breaking in a new quarterback. But they're not first because, they're breaking in a bunch of new players. Even though it's not like these other teams are. I mean, with college football, you look at it, there's really not a world beater. And that's really because of this new transfer portal stuff and the NIL. Every internal conflict happens nowadays. People scream Civil War. Well, they also scream World War III when anything happens. I mean, remember when Russia invaded Ukraine? That was honestly, I don't blame people because a land war in Europe, you could scream World War III. I understand that, but like the bombing of Iran, people were talking about World War III. I mean, they talk about World War III at any point. They talk about a civil war at any point. And I understand. I mean, you can talk about it at some point. It's inevitable, but we've gone a very long time without a world war, and partially because nukes are a deterrent. America's civil war will be a race war. Well, yeah, I could see something setting up like that. I mean, you think of the country splitting. I don't think it's realistic, but the country splits up into two different sides. Republican, Democrat. The liberal side is just filled with white liberals and a bunch of minorities, and then the Republican side is like white conservatives. Thoughts on Newsom bitching today? Yeah, I don't know what Newsom's deal is, honestly. It doesn't really make sense what he's saying. The Republicans have always said they're going to be doing the redistricting. It's happening. So I don't know why he's crying so much. He's trying to like intimidate them, threaten them, and say we're going to redistrict. But the thing is, even if California does redistrict, Republicans have more options. They can gain more seats than liberals, even with California redistricting. So I don't know why he's threatening it. If both Republicans and Democrats redistrict, the odds are Republicans are going to be in a significant advantage over the Democrats. So he can threaten it, but even if you want to go ahead and do it to where both sides do it, Republicans have more options because they have three different states that they could potentially get 3 seats from, a minimum of 3 seats: Texas, Florida, and Ohio. And then they've got like Missouri, and they've got a few others where they could gain a seat. So I don't know what I mean. Newsom is just, he wants attention, I think, but I think it's a lot of it's just fake because it doesn't make sense. What if the Fed doesn't cut in September? Well, it's just more of the same. It's just more of the same with the Fed, unfortunately. And we can't really guarantee a cut. I saw the Fed watch the last time I saw it. It was about a 54% chance of a cut. 0.25 basis points mid-September. It'd be like September 18th or something, September 17th. So like a little over a month from now. Boy, we need that cut for crypto so bad. Well, not so bad, but I'd love to get that cut in September. It'd be amazing timing. That's the exact Pi cycle top date is like September. I think it's September 15th. You see Mark Cuban's post? I didn't see it today, no. What if the South Tower observation deck was open while the North Tower was hit? I don't think there would be any injuries immediately. I don't see any debris hitting anyone on the South Tower, in the plane impact. I think the people would they would have to, I mean, those are the original protocol was to stay inside of the South Tower. So I think those people would have been pretty screwed. I don't think they'd be able to get down fast enough. They would probably, I don't know, they're civilians. It's a public place. It's like a tourist place to go on top of that observation deck. They probably go down because if you look at the South Tower, they have the indoor observation deck, which is right below the roof. So maybe they would go down onto that. But if that's the case, I mean, the plane still hits them. Well, it doesn't hit them, it hits below. But I think it'd be pretty tough for them. You know, they didn't want people leaving the South Tower because of falling debris from the North Tower. Russia taking back what's theirs, who cares, shouldn't matter to Americans. Well, it is a big adversary. Russia is a big adversary gaining land. I mean, you know, it's going to matter to a degree. If you want it to be a European issue, I understand it. But, you know, we're kind of entangled because of NATO and Western Europe and what those countries want. But I think Trump is more open to Russia annexing territory. And that's what's going to have to happen to end the war. You always thought it was interesting that a lot of Bernie 2016 supporters voted for Trump. In 2016, a similar situation is happening with Gen Z not supporting Israel. Yeah, I think that the Israel stuff is easier to explain, though. I mean, because you can tell, you know, with the further right people and why they hate Israel, and then also the further left people, you know, with you know, free Palestine. So I think it's easier to tell that, but it's different reasons that they dislike Israel for different reasons. The further right and the further left. How in the world are they going to gerrymander Illinois more or California? Yeah, they apparently they could get about a few 4 or 5 seats maybe out of California. The thing with California that's funny is what the Democrats will do is they'll put in like these independent commissions. You know, they're supposed to like protect against gerrymandering, so they say they're these big, you know, they do it by the law and holier than thou. We don't gerrymander. And then Newsom comes out and says I could basically bypass that in a second. So it's all posture. And Beto O'Rourke, I don't know if you guys saw him, he said Democrats should treat, he started swearing. He's like, Democrats should fucking cheat or something like that. We should cheat, you know. And so it's all fodder. It's all fake. Whenever they say they have these independent commissions and these special elections that supposedly have to be held, I mean, that's what California is. There's actual hurdles that Newsom has to get over to actually be able to redraw the map. See, with Texas, they don't have those hurdles. Abbott can just redraw however he likes. Do you think people should have jumped off the towers or no because you risked landing on people? Well, I mean, they jumped off of them because the interior of the building was so hot, mainly, and the smoke. What's going to happen? Putin will demand territory. Zelensky will say no. Trump will abandon Ukraine by saying he did his best. You think that's how this proceeds? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know what Ukraine wants exactly. How are we going to end the war with Russia accepting a full retweet or retreat? Retreat. They're not going to fully retreat. There's no way. They've invested too much into this war. Putin would be shamed by Russians if that's what happened. That's not going to happen. So I don't know how they're going to get their land back. The thing is, for Trump, he has to talk to these Western European countries and get them on board with ending the war. Ending the war requires annexation of Ukrainian land. Now, I don't know how much that is. I mean, that's what people I'm sure they're debating. Trump said it was territory swaps. So maybe that means, I mean, what are swaps exactly? How is Ukraine going to get any land of this? I don't see it happening. So is Russia-Ukraine peace unrealistic, as it's hard to imagine Russia getting eastern Ukraine? Well, they already have far eastern Ukraine is what they have. They already have it under military administration. You know, they've invaded that territory, so they have that territory now. Ukraine's not going to want to officially give that territory up. They say they're still fighting for it. They don't have the manpower to fight it, though. They don't have the manpower to recoup that territory against the Russian armies. Did any jumpers land on someone? Yeah, one of them did. Seems like Ukraine wants anything that Europe tells them they want. Right, that's the thing is, and that's what the deal is for Trump. if you can just tell the Western Europe that the only way we're going to solve this is by doing some type of deal, which cedes land. I mean, obviously West Europe is not going to like that because they don't want Russia closer to them. But I mean, if you want a deal, this is what has to be done. Or the United States, would just say, I mean, if no deal happens, you really have to think about, because really, what do? We're not going to sink our domestic economy over Ukraine again. I don't know what Trump is talking about with these sanctions, but there's no sanctions against oil. We can't do that again. I think it's just threats. Are we going to destroy energy prices for Ukraine for like 5 months and then they have to recover and it takes another 5 months? I don't want to. We're not going to do that. So they're going to have to agree to something. I just don't see any of these crazy sanctions going on. I think this is a pressure tactic to try and get, which he's done. He's gotten Putin to the negotiating table, at least in a meeting. It's DC Liberation Day. Yeah, I saw that. And I saw the liberals talk about, they're like, well, crime is down. It's at a 30-year low. Well, number one, they don't report crime. And it's very advantageous, and it's for a lot of these liberal cities to not report crime. And for a number of reasons, they don't want to report that it's minority crime. And now you see the new thing that's happened to where it'll be minorities committing the crime, and then they're labeled as white men. Or they're just labeled as white people. So they underreport it. Remember, they did it in New York, and they got caught. They said, well, we don't even know what a felony is. You can't report these as felonies. That's why felonies were measured at like 0, because they didn't report any of them. Yeah, the only person that got a felony was Trump, and he got 34, raised from misdemeanors in New York in 2024. I'm joking, but they claim it's at such a low. But dude, this is a crazy thing I've seen in the DC Reddit, the DC subreddit, where they're like, we can't really talk about it, but we can't even go out and use public transit. Now, look, I think crime in a specific city is something that is really, like, you need to be boots on the ground. Like, I would want to take subways and see what it is, and because it is true, crime in big cities it's isolated to certain areas. That is true. But you also hear these people on Reddit, and they say, well, even in anywhere in the subways in DC, it's a shithole. And there's just these crack addicts, and this is just not how and it's really not how DC should be. The problem is DC is radically liberal. The District of Columbia's population is 51% black, or 50% black. They vote, I mean, remember, they get 3 electoral votes, because they got the special exemption or whatever. So they get the 3 electoral votes. It's basically they're awarded almost like statehood rights for the election. And if you don't have the population, you get 3 electoral votes. So they get, and you look at the polls, and the Democrat always wins. They've got like 93% of the vote. The Republican gets 7% of the vote. So if why is our capital so fucking liberal? I mean, and so you try and clean it up. And all the elitist buildings are nice and everything like that, but the surrounding area is really bad. That's the problem. DC subreddit is insane. Yeah, I saw they had to start taking posts down because Trump announced his plan, and there were people that were like, the silent, we actually agree with this, and then they just take it down. The mods just have to take it down. They remove it because they're just, those people. They'll censor anything that's not pro leftists in a lot of those subreddits, especially the major city subreddits. A lot of the stories, it was all crime. So they have to say, we can't really talk about crime anymore because the entire subreddit's going to be filled up with stories on crime. China tariff suspension officially extended 90 days. Yeah, somebody told me about that. I thought it was already. I thought that news came out. That news came out last week, but then we got to hear about it again, and they try and make fun of Trump. The hardcore liberal YouTuber Legal Eagle lives in DC. Yeah, I bet he does. DC's a very expensive place to live. Think about that. You're a lawyer and a YouTuber. You get all those views. You say you're a legal. Think about it. What's the point of being a lawyer on YouTube, but you're biased? Why is Reddit so left wing? The real reason is because they banned a bunch of the big right wing subreddits like the Donald. You know, they banned the Donald in 2016 before Trump even won his first time. Then they say, well, it's conservatives don't read. Well, listen, I do use Reddit, but the problem is it's very they ban a lot of the conservative shit. That's the issue. Sam, I appreciate the donation. Have you chosen a woman to spread your seed into yet? The people are wondering. Sam, no. A creative donation, though. A very creative donation. Would the Bojanka plot and Operation Plane have led to World War III? No, it's a similar thing. It's a similar thing to 9/11. I mean, it leads to wars for sure. 9/11 led to wars. You know what's crazy? The Epstein stuff died. You were lib bonering about how it would take him out. Now it's gone. Well, that's the news cycle. That's the news cycle. You know, the Epstein stuff will be back. But, dude, you're not going to, like, realistically, what are we going to do? Every single day talk about Epstein? People get bored of things really quickly. That's not how it works. It's just not, you know, there's no way Trump is going to be forced out with this Congress. How is it going to happen? The Democrats have no power to do anything. But also, there's really no, the Epstein stuff, it's fake outrage from Democrats. It's completely fake outrage. They were calling it a hoax 5 months ago because they thought Bill Clinton was involved. Kevin, I appreciate it. I climbed all the way down from the North Tower on 9/11 from the impact zone. Well, listen, if you actually did, that would be that's an insane story. And there are people that did do that. You'd have to be under the impact zone. If you were above it, there's no way to get down. The North Tower, there's no way. Bojanka and Operation Plane would be different level. Yeah, but Bojanka wouldn't have been as bad. It would have been more well, there's no way they would have been able to execute that plan. It's ridiculous. You're not going to be able to do 15. You're not going to blow up 15 airliners. They might have gotten like 4 out of 15 if that plan would have happened. Maybe. And think about it, you blow up 4 of them, you know, over the Pacific Ocean. The reason 9/11 was so bad was the video. Think about the amount of videos and the people watching on TV as the towers collapsed. That's a symbolic thing. You don't get that with planes blowing up over the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it's very sad that if that were to happen, but I'm just saying, that's a lot of the horror to 9/11 is the delay of the buildings being hit and then collapsing with every camera in New York, you know, on them. How's the weather? It's not good. It's another heat wave. It's another heat wave. It's 86 degrees right now. It's really bad. I mean, you know, you think it's like, all right, we had a little moment where it was like a weekend a few weeks ago, and maybe it was gonna stop, but it's just this constant. It's this constant heat, man. It's mid 80s. It's mid 80s every day. 84, 85, 87, 86, 82, 85. It's just constant. FBI crime statistics are irrelevant due to departments underreporting. I know, and there's also a problem where they report minorities as white. Have you seen that as well? I see that a lot. And look, maybe sometimes it's like, all right, maybe there's a clerical error, but it seems like it happens a lot from what I see. And it is anecdotal, but Do you think the buildings were rigged with explosives? No. Did you see Anna Kasparian argue with Scott Jennings on CNN over ICE? Any thought of her going right wing are over? Really? Well, she's just very anti Israel, basically. Anna Kasparian now. She's extremely anti Israel. But arguing with ICE, yeah. I mean, Scott Jennings should just say, I mean, the perspective of ICE and like trying to argue with these people is just mind numbing. And you know, another thing, it's like it is the exact same argument. Obviously, it's not the same in terms of these people are not slaves. But you know, when we had slavery back in the mid 1800s, they said, well, if you get rid of slavery, there's going to be nobody to do any of the work. You can't do that. We need free, you know, the free labor. And it's a very similar argument. You know, who's going to do the really cheap labor? You can pay legal immigrants under the table for $5, $10 an hour. Who's going to? I mean, it's like the fucking same argument. We had a couple of 10x solar flares that just missed coming towards us that would have put us in another heat bubble. A solar flares from the sun that would put us in a heat bubble? I never heard of that. How many subs before shirtless stream? Uh, I weigh a good one. I weigh a good 155. I haven't weighed myself in a little while though. I fluctuate around 155. Did Drake and Josh depressed Ginger become iCarly depressed Ginger? They're morphing into the same account. They're the same account, I think. Do you think relaxing TSA rules will impact security? I'd be surprised if it changed much at all. I mean, they're not doing it for you know a lot of that was really it's the shoe thing, and I haven't even used the TSA stuff in a while. You had to take your shoes off. I don't think you have to do that anymore. That's basically it. And you know they've got scanners now that you can see through fucking shoes. I don't know if there was some type of maybe a specific shoe that you could wear that made it to where they couldn't see through it or something. I don't get why you'd have to take your shoes off. They did it for a reason. I mean, you could conceal a knife in your shoe, but wouldn't that be you be able to detect that when you go through that thing and you have to like, put your hands up like that? You hear about the asteroid that could hit Earth? There's always an asteroid that could hit Earth. Remember, there was one that they said 2% chance, and then it got downgraded to a point zero 0.00032 or so. I mean, they always talk about that, man. And the thing is I mean, the only way it could happen is if there's like a rogue asteroid that, because they're tracking all of this stuff, any major asteroid. At least I hope they are. So I mean, maybe if there's some type of asteroid that's kind of close to us, that's not even on track, but then another asteroid collides into it and then forces maybe a combination of debris from both the asteroids to rain onto Earth. Basically, it's the Earth is here, the asteroids are far away, but then the two asteroids collide into each other, and then the debris, comes into Earth. That's really the only thing I could see. Because think about it, if we know there's an asteroid straight shot to Earth, we're going to have a deterrent in time, I would hope. Just send a nuclear bomb out to it and blow it up. I'm actually not even sure if that's possible, but you have to get your real ID. Dude, that is annoying. What even is that? Why do they even let you get an ID without getting the real ID? There's an error on my ID. I have to go get it, and I have to get that real ID as well. They should just give you the real ID. How do you fly without? I have the ID. Oh, but it's not this specific one. What? All right, I'll play some of these clips. Let me read this. You're amazing, DG, but how dare you not put the USC Trojans in your top 25 today? I was very upset with you. Well, it wasn't my top 25. It was the AP's. I mean, yeah, USC has the talent to be a top 25 team. It's just how they struggled last year, so I think that's why they weren't ranked.
No, I'd never seen it before, and there was a bit of a controversy. I don't remember exactly what had happened, but I think that normally it's customary for the outgoing vice president to show the incoming vice president's family the house. And we have 3 little kids, so I guess at the time our kids were like 7, 5, and 2. I guess Mirabelle turned 3 right before the inauguration, and so now they're a little bit older, but they had never seen this house, and Usha really wanted to show them. And so what we actually proposed is, recognizing the weirdness of the politics, can Usha take the kids over and just show them where they're going to be living for the next 4 years? And they were rebuffed. So we took some old diagrams and some old photos and tried to show the kids. Actually, a friend of ours in Cincinnati had a book.
Well, their hatred for President Trump is so all-consuming that they can't see these common sense.
That is insane. DC has the fourth highest homicide rate in the United States. They were bragging about crime being at a 30-year low. So what was it before this if it's the 4th highest now?
Also, some violent crime is down. Why now?
Why now? Because, it may be down, but the question is always down from what? If we had the 4th largest highest homicide rate in the country 2 years ago, all of a sudden it goes down. People want to pat themselves on the back? No way. Talk to any of the crime victims. I was just at a college a couple weeks ago where I had photos of young kids who were victims of homicides, of shootings, and it happens over and over again. It's not okay because it's down from last year. It's bad. This is the nation's capital. This is a shining city on the hill.
Yeah, I don't understand if you're batting. Think about this. If you're a batter and you're hitting 150, and then 3 weeks later you're hitting 170, that doesn't make you a good hitter just because your average is up. Just because crime is down, if it's still the 4th highest homicide rate, that doesn't mean DC is safe because crime is down relative to its previous terrible number. Mr. Lip?
From drug deals
Had a shooting here 2 days ago.
to bullets flying not far from where kids were playing at the Kennedy Rec Center.
What can we do to make sure that it's safe for the kids?
Neighbors from the Shaw, Mount Vernon Square, and Mount Vernon Triangle neighborhoods say they're fed up.
In the past 4 weeks, we've had 3 shootings.
Stephen McCarty is the ANC for the area. He organized this week's public safety walk.
We need to bring everyone together because this is happening here.
On hand to hear their concerns, DC Police 3rd District Commander Sean Connors.
And I can tell you right now, we have less shootings here than we had at this point last year.
He told them that by the numbers, crime is down. In fact, DC police say crime is down across the entire city.
Does anyone here actually think that?
But if you ask these DC neighbors,
It shows such a lack and disconnect between what you're trying to sell versus what we're experiencing.
their perception, how they feel, is unsafe. From drug deals.
Well, again, down from like a historic high to still a very bad number, they're not going to really feel an improvement. Wasn't there stuff with Trump and Ukraine and talking about that? I could have swore I saw that. Maybe I have it in the likes section. This is the you know you're in a liberal city when you see the fucking note taped on the please don't bash in my window. That's what, man, if you're a mayor and you see something like that, shouldn't there be an immediate change, an immediate order? This society is probably needs a massive overhaul if I see a fucking sign on the interior of a car window begging people not to bash it in.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made. How will you know that? Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Because that's what I do. I make deals. No, but it's more based around Putin's willingness to negotiate, is what he's saying.
I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, it's by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the President of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right?
Right, and so Trump is saying, well, you ask, why would Russia do a deal? Well, if Russia feels pressured that some of these countries that Trump is threatening with tariffs, if they feel pressured like they're not going to buy Russian oil, it's going to be very hard on their economy. See, when we put tariffs or when we put sanctions on Russia the first time, they could just sell to the eastern countries. Now Trump is tariffing all those countries, threatening them if you buy. And maybe it won't work, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's a reason why Russia might be more willing to negotiate. Unfortunately, to me, what this feels like is it's going to be deemed an unrealistic ask by Putin. The Western European countries are going to say it's unrealistic. Ukraine is going to say it's unrealistic. And so I don't think there'll be a deal from this. Because Zelensky has been saying he's not really interested in giving up any land, which I understand. For negotiating leverage, you don't want to say you're going to give up land, but I mean, the thing is they would probably need Putin to scale back whatever he was asking. That's probably what it's going to have to be. Trump should arrest Putin immediately as soon as he lands in Alaska and tell Russia, I own you. Yeah, I do believe the meeting in Alaska is happening, because Trump said they were going to meet in Russia, but I think it's Alaska, or somebody said that. Texas congressional map. I don't think they'll be able to add 10. I'm not sure that's realistic. This might just be talk here, plus 10. I'm not sure about that. Because now you're getting into some seats that become competitive that a lot of the Republicans within certain districts are not going to like, because there's Republican districts that would get more competitive because you're diluting you're making it more of a competitive seat. But I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers. Dem narrative blown wide open. Nancy Pelosi turned down the National Guard on January 6th. Yeah, well, the crazy stuff with this is, I wonder if this has... The January 6th stuff is pretty remarkable, because apparently Trump was the one on 3 days before January 6th. It would have been around January 3rd. He asked for the National Guard. That's Donald Trump asking for it. Remember, they said that Donald Trump incited this. He wanted this to overturn the election. What they had said, the reason that Trump got banned off of every platform on social media, he incited this. He wanted it. He stood by it and did nothing. The problem with that is if Trump did, and this is the House committee that said Trump did this, Trump demands to have the National Guard there. There's no way there's any break-ins. The break-ins don't happen. Now, you might be asking, well, why would Nancy Pelosi now want the National Guard there? The Democrats have said, this is terrible. They said it's terrorism. It's domestic terrorism. Why would they want this to happen? Well, of course they would want this to happen. They probably wanted it to be as bad as humanly possible. To make Trump look bad, to make Republicans look bad. That's why there were FBI informants there that were trying to entrap Trump supporters. And a lot of them, unfortunately, went to jail and kind of fell for the whole thing. And, it's a sad situation, but Trump wanted the National Guard there. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats turned him down because they wanted it to be as bad as humanly possible. Went to Big Five Sporting Goods with a friend this weekend. $99.99 for Evolution Wilson bat. Wow. That is a good basketball, but what is that, an indoor? $100. It was probably like $69.99 when I used to go. You just said Trump requested $10K National Guard for security. Well, I didn't say $10K. I said he requested National Guard. You can go look it up. It's in the House Committee findings. Go look up House Committee. Go look it up on ChatGPT. That's where it would show it. ChatGPT or Grok. You could go look it up. And go ahead and tell me the House Committee findings. I trust me, I remember it. Juan, what's up, man? How are you tonight? I'm doing well. Did you see MTG going at Laura Loomer? Yeah, I think Laura Loomer blocked her. It's a little cat fight. Did you see everyone is attacking Nick Fuentes for being a Fed, and even Elon responded? Yeah, I mean, I know he's got people have been calling him a Fed because of the January 6th stuff and him not being charged. But I don't know about Elon responding or anything like that.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone.
One of the things with crimes in these big cities, you have to wonder at a certain point, there's seepage, because obviously we know there's the elitist areas, and the elitist areas, there's very little crime, right? There's areas within DC, there's very little crime, and they're heavily patrolled. But at a certain point, the outer areas to where the crime, and it's any major city is like this, there's really bad areas. At what point does the crime in those areas get so bad it starts seeping in? And that's why you see like the public transportation is really the first step. That's why New York City has all the problems with the public transportation. I'm sure there's very, very safe areas, expensive areas of New York City, but you're going to be dealing with seepage because of the amount of problems the city has with crime. Even if there are really nice areas, still those areas will deal with seepage of crime. That's another thing you have to wonder. Maybe that's probably what DC is dealing with. That's why there's liberals, on the subreddit saying the crime is actually pretty bad. These are white collar people going into work or using public transportation. And once it gets bad enough and it gets out of the contained space, that's when they start seeing it.
Of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill, I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? probation, says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not going to end today, because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction is through the state attorney general, Brian Schwab. I did a poster of the young man from Doge who was beaten bloody with a severe concussion, a broken nose. And then I did a poster of what happens to those kids, because I can't arrest them, I can't prosecute them. They go to family court, and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today.
Well, again, DC's population, I think, is 51% black. This is hate mongering. It's not productive. Well, Trump likes flexing his executive authority. I mean, that's obvious. But look, you can call it whatever you want. There's obviously a problem that Democrats are not addressing because minorities are committing the crimes and they don't want to deal with it. So somebody has to address it. Even if it is in a liberal city, I mean, it's within Trump's jurisdiction because it's D.C. And he's talked about doing this with other liberal cities. I mean, I think Trump is really trying to, he's really trying to make some type of change. I mean, he is. Imagine doing this with other cities as well. Because it's almost like when you think about it, all of these cities are never going to vote for a conservative mayor, or it would take decades. The city would be annihilated beyond repair by the time these cities voted for a Republican mayor. So what if Trump can kind of usurp that and try and force some type of authority through the National Guard? Because otherwise you're not going to, these are major cities. It's tough to be the president in a sense because, these are your cities, but what can you really do? I guess you got to put the National Guard, and that's your authority measure. Oh, okay. It's 43% black. I saw. I don't know. Maybe I made that up. I thought it was. 43% black. But there was something about it being 51%. I thought I saw somewhere with maybe it was like included interracial or something. I don't know. Vine is exploding right now. I wonder how based Vine is doing. Wait, is Vine seriously exploding? I don't even have this. Not really. The base isn't doing shit. Up 13%. Gavin Newsom just gave President Trump 24-hour ultimatum. Yeah, this is a charade. You'll never live in a shithole blue city, and look at the cost of living in those cities as well. Not only, and some of it is access. I mean, some of it is access. Those cities are going to cost more because of the access to people and how close it is to everything. But yeah, it's just not worth it. I mean, it's a lifestyle thing for sure. Some people love living in big cities. It's just, it depends on the individual, but it's definitely not a great for a lot of us. A lot of white people, it's not a good lifestyle. Up 27% in 2 hours, bro. But that's a meme coin. I mean, if you're, listen, man, you can't really classify a meme coin as booming if it's up 27% in 2 hours. If it were to boom, I would expect it to be And like a meme coin that has a market cap of 45 million, 2x, go to 90 million in 2 hours. I would say, all right, it's booming. But 27%, so like 100% gain in 2 hours, I would say it's booming. Because it is a higher market cap. Clankers, that's a slur. You can't say that, bro. What, the name for the robots you're talking about? Meme coins aren't exploding like in January, December. What, this past year? Yeah, honestly, we haven't even reached the, altcoins they were doing better in I would say, what was it? I think it was, it was December and January, but that's not the top of the altcoin, obviously. That's not even close to the top of the cycle. The top will probably be hopefully in the winter, like I said. Are there AIs? Yeah, you do need we use trading bots to manage crypto. But I manage my own keys. I manage my own crypto. Well, I store my you have to store your own crypto. It's self custody. Most people don't want to deal with self custody. That's why they've got all those ETFs now. But they only have ETFs. What for? Do they have an Ethereum ETF? Do they? But I mean, Ethereum, you're gonna get a Bitcoin ETF. You're gonna get Ethereum. There's no point in getting a. I mean, I understand people don't want to deal with self custody of Bitcoin, but how much? You're not even gonna get enough Bitcoin to really make a difference in terms of an ETF. It's already gonna be diluted with other shit. Yeah, we got a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, I saw the female umpire. I mean, they have the umpire scorecards. She was 13th out of 15th most accurate in the games yesterday. So people say, I mean, we'll see. I just think, the thing with baseball is I really am going to hate when they switch to the robot umps. People like that. They're really making baseball really robotic just in general because they put the pitch clock in. Now you've got a timer. Now you've got a robot. You've got the robot ump. The baseball is just going to be, and there's no preservation of it at all. They don't even try and preserve it. It's like these people, they want it to go to this. But I think the pitch clock did some serious damage. I mean, you can't do a timer. This is not fucking third grade. We don't need a game lasting 35 minutes. These are grown-ups. They can stay and play a 2 and 3 hour baseball game. Remember when they had 7-inning doubleheaders and the players complained when it went away? It's like, I used to play fucking 4th grade baseball games. We would go 8 innings sometimes. These dudes can't go 7 innings because it's a fucking doubleheader. Do a history video. Yeah, that's a very interesting country, man. They've got our same constitution. They've got almost our same flag. They speak English. That's where Lincoln was going to send the slaves after slavery ended. That's where they were going to send them. The slaves didn't want to go, believe it or not. We bring these people over as part of enslavements, but it was third, fourth generation in some cases. They didn't want to go back to Africa. That's where Lincoln was going to send them. Dude, these clankers. No, I'm not. These clankers, man. Grok is a clanker, bro. You don't get why Newsom is threatening to gerrymander to, and this at the same time doesn't want Trump to do it. Well, he's trying to threat. It's a threat. He knows Republicans are going to do it, so he's trying to scare them into not doing it by saying he's just going to do it back. But it's not going to work. Republicans have the math advantage in terms of the gerrymandering or redistricting, whatever you want to call it.
Watch them. The police are standing, and they're told, don't do anything under any such, so this, and you can see they want to get at it. And they're standing there, and people are spitting in their face, and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Whatever the hell they want, as if police have been not doing anything before this, Eddie. What do you make of that? Whatever the hell they want.
Chris, to be honest with you, I'm trying to hold my temper. I think there's an ongoing argument that he's having in his head with Black Lives Matter. There's an ongoing argument that he's having
Black
with
Lives Matter?
the questions around criminal justice reform and police reform. It's interesting that he really doesn't really care about what's actually happening in D.C. on a certain level, because he's not trying to get at the underlying root causes. He's not looking at examples of how to address rising crime rates that doesn't require a form of policing that leads to increased incarcerality and the like. Let's look at what's going on in Baltimore. Let's look at what's happening actually in places like Baltimore and Chicago, right? So part of what we have to do is to understand, and Oakland, we have
all places with mass crime problems.
To understand this, Chris, within the context of Donald Trump's racial politics and within the context of his effort to get Epstein off the front pages. I understand David's point, but when we try to treat this as a rational response, then we lose sight of the actual politics that's being played here. And he's actually trying to give his base red meat to get them off of the Epstein story, and it's on the backs of citizens in Washington, D.C. He's going to undermine the democratic process in the district. And so I understand what David is trying to say, but we need to be clear about what Donald Trump is doing.
But honestly, that's such a bad argument to use. Like, legitimately, you can say that Trump is, he's obsessed with power, and they can claim it's an overreach or whatever, and it's an overreaction. But when you start saying, well, it's because of the Epstein files, it just makes you look weak. Just makes you look like you don't have a real response. Like, you're going to shift it to the Epstein files, really, for trying to create a safer, DC, and then it doesn't get to the root causes. The root causes. Did you play the Battlefield 6 open beta? It was amazing and big improvements in the series. No, I didn't play the beta. Yeah, I don't know. Battlefield, it kind of looks a little bit more like maybe an older COD game to me. When I played the Battlefield, I don't know which one it was, the one that came out in 2017. So what would that be like, Battlefield 3? And that felt like a war game. It felt really different than Call of Duty. But I don't know, I was seeing some clips and Trump promised to release the files, and instead he said he didn't have the privilege of going to the island. Well, that was a slip when he said the privilege. That was it was like a rhetorical remark. Smash or pass, Anna. Anna's hot. It's a distraction from the Epstein files. It's going to become Trump is a fascist. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it has the same. It doesn't have the same ring to it as calling Trump like a fascist or a racist. But they've called him everything at this point, so I'm not sure how much it really matters when you call Trump a name. Favorite character in Zoe 101? I don't know, man. You had Chase, Logan, Michael, Del Figolo, Quinn. I don't remember all the characters. Annapolina, Luna, or AOC? Luna. Do we get a Fuentes Carlson debate before 2025 ends? I think Carlson would do that. I think Carlson would do that, honestly, but he would be someone that I think he would do something like that. Did you see press complain about the room of the hall? What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're talking about. You mean the ballroom? Did they complain about that? Kirk Fuentes debate before 2025. I don't think Kirk is going to do that. I mean, I think at a certain point, it's a really bad. Kirk probably realized with the young people, the public opinion for him is so bad. I think it would be smart for Kirk to do that, because right now it's almost like you look so bad. How much worse can it get if you debate him? So the problem is he just looks really weak right now, and you can't saying he's a troll is disingenuous. You can't do that. I think Kirk needs a new approach. He needs to take a new approach. But he's the young people, they see him as cucking for Israel, so it's hard for him to really shed that. DC crime was down, so why now the National Guard? Yes, it went from the most crime-ridden area to the third most crime-ridden area. They've been saved. Crime being down doesn't mean it's a safe area. It's down from a record high. It's still at a record high. Fourth highest homicide rate. But look, I mean, I'm not even saying that, like, whether or not you think Trump is doing it. I think this is an unwinnable situation for Trump. These are liberal cities. They have rampant crime. There's only so much you can do as the president.
The question is this. You're building a big, beautiful ballroom. Yeah. Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room?
Yes.
Technology.
Yeah.
More seats.
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable.
The question is this. You're building
that was a joke. They really didn't criticize him there for that. You think Trump meant to say that he wasn't as close of a friend of Epstein to have the privilege that people closer to Epstein would have, which was being invited to the island? Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I knew Trump didn't mean it in the way that people were taking it. They were misconstruing it. But I mean, it did sound a little off when he said that. How about he just leaves our cities alone? Well, they're his cities. I mean, he's the president of the United States. That's the thing with being the president. It's like, it's a reflection of you to a degree. If they're disgusting and crime-ridden and there's no I mean, you want to try and create change. You want to try and make it a better situation. That's the whole point of just the liberals, the Bermuda Triangle, where the city is in complete disarray. They elect a liberal. The city gets even worse. They elect someone even further left. Then it gets even worse. I mean, it's like, I will say, they did elect Eric Adams in New York City. He's liberal, but he's less liberal and more of a hard ass on crime. That's someone that could be better for these liberal cities. But even he now is getting run out for I guess a socialist, a communist, whatever you want to call it. SPX 2.0 needs to push beyond its local range. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that coin. I saw it was pumping a little bit, but it just gets stuck. You know, you're right, it gets stuck. Thoughts on Pete Hegseth so far? Well, I mean, I don't think Pete's done a bad job. The grade would be incomplete. You know, the signal thing they blew up. That's a common protocol, and that wasn't even Hegseth. They acted like people don't communicate over signal with matters like that when they do. The DC lower crime stats are fake anyways. The person in charge got put on leave for manipulating the data. And of course, and they would have every reason to try and manipulate that data, not just to make it look better for the city, but also because it's a lot of minority crime. And the liberals would love to manipulate that and make it seem lower. And also, I'd like to know the policies they put in place to bring crime down. I mean, it doesn't really seem like they've done much in the way of enforcement. So how is crime so much lower? Well, maybe they're just a lot of the numbers are being manipulated. But again, it's relative. It's down from what? It's down from a ridiculous high. Are you scared of Newsom and other Democrats' retaliation? No, the Republicans are not going to be. I don't think Republicans will be scared of that in terms of the gerrymandering stuff. Would you deport Zoran? He shouldn't have any type of power in the United States. New York doesn't want Mondani. It's the young female voter that no, I hear you. It's a lot of young, spoiled not Republicans, young, spoiled white liberals. That's who voted him in 100%. I'm not denying that. The minorities voted for Cuomo in the primary. Pretty overwhelmingly, too. Like, has anyone seen the stupid Barstool Beach house? I never seen that. What are they doing, like a content house? A lot of people do that. That type of stuff tends to get really good views when you do content houses. Who should or should not have power in the United States is determined by the voters. Well, Trump has power. I mean, it's his country. It was determined by the voters. They voted for Trump. I don't know what to tell you. You think being born in the U.S. requirement should extend? I know, and think about it. Being born in the U.S., what does that even mean now with all the immigrants in the country? It doesn't even mean much, but at minimum, that should be extended. I agree. Communist people are scary because they are only nice at a certain time. There's no communism in the United States. It's not. I mean, maybe in the most liberal areas there, but even that, it doesn't even work. You have a communist city surrounded by capitalism. The city is going to be obliterated. I mean, even a country that's fully communist does not work.
And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told him about in my first term, I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning.
Pritzker has at least 200 pounds to go. Yeah, Pritzker was on, Pritzker got kind of embarrassed by Colbert. Did you see that? Colbert brought out a map of how gerrymandered Illinois was, and he didn't like it too much. He tried to play it off as a joke. Pritzker could beat you in 2028. Don't underestimate him. Yeah, he could beat me in a donut eating contest, probably. You love that Trump always has an insult, right? Remember the insult to Buttigieg? He's like, he said something about Buttigieg's husband riding on the back of his bicycle.
At your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the President noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own. And we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing, working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all D.C. police and federal law enforcement to ensure this.
Yeah, I don't know what the Mark Cuban stuff is. Let me look this up. Yeah, Cuban now is trying to go to the middle, saying that Dems should be thanking Trump, creating sales tax on two of the biggest semiconductor companies in the country. Cuban's trying to shift to the middle. Speaking of January 6th, did you see the DC mayor post the day before saying she didn't want any National Guard support? Dude, January 6th really is remarkable. Like, the fact that the prelude to it in terms of, and look, I might have to, I don't want to do a video on it because it's just, there's no point in hashing it out again, but it really is something when you think about Trump wanting the National Guard there. I mean, that in and of itself is evidence that they manipulated January 6th and made it seem like Trump wanted those people to take over the Capitol. Why would you want National Guard if you're plotting to take over the Capitol? and reinstall yourself. Just makes no sense. Yeah, which is a very nice, loving relation. Yeah, I remember that about Buttigieg. You can see it now. It's going to look like 1930s Germany. Bro, you got to stop comparing everything to Germany, to the Nazis. Why would Cuban play politics? He's already rich. Because they're already rich. They have to try and accomplish something. Once that you get to a certain point in terms of being a billionaire and running all these companies and having fame, they're still living lives, and a lot of these guys are still hungry. So Cuban, whether or not he'll run, it's very clear that he wants to be involved in politics. And he's got like his pharmaceutical company or something where they price match drugs and get them for lower cost. The whale enters. January 6th was legendary, all MAGA as far as the eye could see. You were so close on stage when Trump gave a speech. Wow, you were there. Yeah, that was a huge rally for sure on January 6th. What about the deep state? Yeah, the deep state is not going to be defeated. The deep state would take someone else rather than Trump to defeat the deep state. I think that's obvious, especially with the Epstein stuff that came out. Mark Cuban would want to run because he's rich, but he doesn't have power. He envies Musk. Yeah, again, it's just with these billionaires, it's an ego thing. And same thing with Trump. I'm sure he's very, you look at Trump and his popularity and his fame, and it's got to be tough for someone like Cuban. But yeah, Cuban probably relates himself more so to Musk. I know he had a few run-ins with Musk. Hmm. Russians can mine one Bitcoin for 39K and sell it for 118K. I remember when Bitcoin mining is just not profitable nowadays, especially if you're doing it by yourself. It's just, Bitcoin mining was really big back in 2017 during that bull run because you could buy equipment and invest $5,000 or $6,000. The problem is the electricity it takes up and the noise and the cooling systems and things like that. What was it, like the graphics cards? But it was profitable. It's not profitable anymore. The scale of it has to be so enormous. It's so competitive because of the halving. I mean, what have there been 2 halvings since 2017? When the halving happens, the block rewards go down by half. So the mining is not nearly as profitable. Mining is a cool idea. It's like an extra investment, but it's like a fun reward. But I mean, this is what happens, and now crypto is so mainstream, and it's it doesn't make sense to mine it. Buying an RTX 5090 mining would be like having a space heater. Dude, the noise that they made. I remember there was this company that had this little nice this little Bitcoin mining thing, and it was a piece of shit. But it looked really nice. It looked futuristic. I remember that. And they were like, "Huh, you have to it costs $500. You get maybe $100 a year for it, and then you have to factor in the energy costs." Only worth it if you have massive facilities. Yeah, some of these facilities are, imagine you had a massive facility in 2017, you'd be a billionaire. I always try and think about, like, what's the next thing off of crypto that's going to be, but it's like crypto was such an obvious play. I don't know why I never got, I mean, I did get into it, but it's one of those things. I mean, I think I should be probably pretty good with crypto. But again, like I should be in a much better position. I should have a lot of Bitcoin at this point. I really should. I remember when Bitcoin was $2,600, $3,200. I remember looking at it. But the first time I ever laid eyes on Bitcoin was probably when it was like 2,200. It would have been 2016 or early 2017. What happened to Tulsi? Nothing happened to Tulsi. Is DC going to riot? I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be any of that. Because I think the enforcement started today, and there was a little bit of protesting that I saw, but there's nothing I think people are just, the riots really don't do anything. They don't do anything. Ukraine should coup Zelensky. I'm sure Russia would love that. But I mean, honestly, to a degree, you could be right if what the numbers are correct. Did you see it's like 75% of Ukrainians want the war to be over no matter what, meaning they would cede land. If those numbers are true and Zelensky is continuing to say what he's saying, I mean, yeah, that's 75% of the populace that doesn't agree with what Zelensky is doing. Did Trump taco on China? But this was already news. This is not what it is. It's they have a framework of a trade deal with China. The trade deal it takes time to be completed. So they're delaying it. They're not going to re-tariff them. Right now, the framework has been completed. Why would we put a massive tariff on them? That would probably destroy the trade deal that we're working out. That's already been basically agreed upon. So you're going, that was like this huge thing, but it's all just like performance art. Like, they call it this huge, but what did it really affect? Nothing. They said it was like the second biggest protest in U.S. history, and it just doesn't affect anything. And it's all this like social media brigade that's doing it. When will 2 World Trade Center be finished? Probably by 2035, I would say. It'll be finished. Probably as a it might not even be a complete skyscraper, honestly. It'll be a high rise, but I don't know if they'll be able to build it high enough. I hope they will, but it's going to be a lot of apartments. It's going to be upscale apartments. It's a mixed use. They have to do that. If Putin won't stop, if Zelensky's, yeah, but you can't really, I mean, what are we supposed to do then? So you want the war to continue? I mean, okay, then it continues. I don't know. I mean, it's like, the war will happen either way. Unless you want NATO to be more aggressive, it's not going to really change anything. If you think Putin's going to be back, well, there'll be deterrence in the peace deal. That hopefully that doesn't happen. But we can't really police Putin like that. We're not his parents. I mean, if he decides to reinvade, I mean, there's not much. We're the United States. That's a European issue. I saw your test was amazing. I saw your tweet about it. Dude, that wasn't even a test. That was a joke thing that they take tweets and they factor it into your AI. It's not real. There's no test. Can we get a Lego building stream? Ha! A Lego building stream. I don't think that would do too well. I don't think that would do very well. I gotta finish a set, actually. Close to 301K. Well, you know what? I did see on Saturday I was at 500. So 301,500. So maybe I am getting close to 300. I'd like to get to 301. Because when you're on 300, it's like, let's just get to 301. But I'm probably at like 750 if I had to guess. Should we ban OnlyFans? OnlyFans has got to go. 100%. There's no place for OnlyFans. Now you got these girls counting down the days until they turn 18. And this is just total degenerate behavior. They get rewarded with millions of dollars. And this is not what we want young girls to be growing up emulating and doing. It's terrible. And it's not how our society is going to be run. So, based off of that, we're going to be banning it. You really like the last photos of Hitler video? Yeah, that was... I'm proud of that idea that I thought of. That's a video I would click on. I just like that type of stuff. I think it's interesting. It's a good video. It took 410 days to build the Empire State Building during the Depression with 1930s equipment. It took 10 years to build the New World Trade Center. Yeah, well, but also it's modern building techniques and also regulations. You know, they cut corners in terms of not slave work, but the work was. I mean, how do you think they built all those churches that are beautiful? I mean, a lot of it is it's constant work. It's a lack of safety. I mean, I do think they're really this is what I would propose. The United States should set it. This is what I say. Whether it's a church or some type of monument or some type of building, we really have to be at a certain point, and we can just move from one to the next. You have to build mega structures. We need to build mega structures. So you start the first mega structure. It takes 4 or 5 years to complete. After it's done, the second mega structure, and you build them in different places in the United States. We start building these mega structures. That's how you show how impressive your society is. We need to build mega structures that are just beautiful. That's what we really need to start doing. How would you rank Howard Ludnick's? I'm not a big fan of Howard Ludnick, man. There's going to be a flagpole. There's going to be a pole flip soon. Greenland, Canada, annexation. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. I'd love to see Greenland be annexed. I mean, Greenland, I think, is one that could happen, but Canada, it's going to be tough. Megastructure, legendary and necessary. Yeah, no, megastructures are, and it's something the whole country can get behind. We can see the updated construction of this beautiful building. It becomes a tourist destination. The building is kept pristine, whatever is built. Maybe not so much monuments. I like buildings more so than monuments. Because I think whether it's like a massive church, I'd like to see a massive church be built. But those churches take forever, man. You know how long those churches take in Europe to build? The really beautiful ones. They're still working on a few of them that were started in like the 17 or 1800s. It's crazy. And it's not even necessary that, there's just not a lot of manpower. The churches are so complicated in the way that they're built. It takes forever to build them. And just the labor and the man hours involved in it. I mean, building structures it's really how you flex as a society. Greenland could happen after midterms. Yeah, I wonder if there might. Well, I don't know. We'll see. But the thing is, dude, the perspective of the Trump presidency, it's still very early on. So people saying, well, Greenland's never going to happen. We're very early on. Very early. So maybe there is something that comes out that says, well, it's unpopular. Trump wants to wait until after the midterms. There might be something like that comes out. It wouldn't shock me. If you had to move to Europe, which country would you choose? That's tough, man. I would really have to do research into that. I know in terms of, the really, and there's a lot of rural areas in all of Europe that I'm sure are beautiful. But I know that there are certain countries politically that more would align with me. Ukraine had nukes. We agreed to protect them if they gave them up. Yeah, but it was like a non-binding agreement. That's why liberals don't even cite that. I mean, they did at the beginning. It's not really something you can cite as a liberal argument for protecting Ukraine. Yeah, Ukraine did give up their nukes, and I think they understand it's very dumb to do that. And it was like some type of non-binding agreement. What was it under Clinton? It would have been 96. Yeah, no, there was a deal to where they did give them up, but it was there was no actual. It was something that was really, really weak, like the agreement we made with Ukraine because they gave up their nukes. Wouldn't you go back to your homeland, Ireland? I do want to go. I mean, I think it's important to visit your homeland. It is important to do that. I need to get to Ireland at some point for sure. Are you keeping up with the protests in the UK? I think protests in the UK. There's marches in Ireland. There's protests in the UK. It's necessary. The people are tired of all the immigration. At a certain point, it's going to be too much. Even those people that supposedly are very liberal, they're done with it. At a certain point, I mean, it's just not going to. It's just not going to. And none of the codes of you're racist. None of that shit really works anymore. Once a certain threshold gets passed on the amount of foreigners in a country, the people are just done with it. They don't care about being labeled racist, or it's just, I mean, it's about the country's survival. Yeah, dude, I think the high speed rail is something interesting. The high speed rail, I'm not sure, and I think it'd be a very cool thing. I'm not sure how well it would work. It would probably, California struggled with their high speed rail. I want to look into that project and see the major issues with it. But people are scared of high speed rail in America because of how bad it happened for California with their project. But I'd be interested in high speed rail. I know Japan has it, China. It's modern public transportation. If these other countries do it, they do it for a reason. It's not like it's this crazy. I mean, sure, it might cost a little bit more here, but Ireland is a great country, but we're a mess right now. Yeah, I mean, that's most of Europe. And Ireland's a little bit more, it's more left than the UK. But Ireland's weird. Ireland, they really they really hate Israel, the Irish. So they've got, it's a little bit more nuanced than them just being, liberal. But it's a liberal in like a European sense. But I think they're having these major marches. I see them with the flags and everything in Dublin. It defeats the purpose of looking out the train at stuff with the high speed rail. It's just it's just modern technology, modern innovation. The rail, I'd have to see some type of, numbers on how necessary a high-speed rail would be. I mean, in California, it does make sense. There's a lot of high population centers that are within rail distance. Shouldn't make decisions about our transportation based on what it is. We should make decisions based on how effective it is. I mean, it's a combination of everything. But the rail is more of a liberal idea anyways. Trump isn't even selling gold cards. I thought the gold cards were being sold. I didn't hear anything about them not being sold. Some people don't like the gold cards. I mean, it's more elite foreigners coming into the United States. It's a way to make revenue, but at what cost? I mean, you use the gold cards maybe to give the middle class a tax break before the midterms. I mean, that might be, you're talking about pandering to the middle class at a certain point. So maybe you do something like that. I know they've been talking about, people making under 150K. There's a rebate, which I don't think really makes sense with where we're at right now. But there's a way you can do it because, people under 150K or under 100K, they don't contribute much in comparison to the tax revenue just because of how rich people are in this country. It multiplies like crazy. There's people paying billions of dollars in taxes. Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland. I know Northern Ireland is UK. People are protesting the guy getting shot at DC. I don't know about who got shot in DC. I don't know about that story. Some people don't like President Trump and don't even know. I'm not even sure what that says. Obama is going to get impeached. Obama can't get impeached. He could be arrested maybe for treason. He's not going to get arrested. You think the country would fix itself real fast if there were a maximum wage? Yeah, there goes half of our tax revenue. YouTubers' new age verification is coming Wednesday. Yeah, well, what a mess that is. I wish YouTube was shamed into not doing that. People think it's going to be really bad. Is the UK or the US in a worse position? Well, the UK is in a lot worse of a position than we are, just overall. I mean, that's a loaded question. What are you meaning by that? I mean, it could mean 100 different things, but just, think about what the UK was. I mean, that's the British Empire. Look at what they're at now. I mean, in terms of their influence, it's very minuscule. Demographics, no, I think the UK is in a better spot. People don't believe that because they look at London. I've looked at the demographics of these European countries. They're in a better spot than we are. And you could say, well, but I mean, you think about it, with where we were in the 60s compared to now. Look at us in Canada. Look at North America compared to Europe. From what I see, I know the major cities. I get the major cities are in bad shape in Europe. I understand. But the overall picture, I don't think is as bad as the States or North America. Because Canada really has to, they have got to stop. And I think, they almost elected a conservative, and that's a very liberal a very liberal country almost electing a conservative, they've got a very small population, so they bring in a lot of immigrants. See, the United States, to a degree, we've got 350 million people, so you can bring people in and it withstands it because the population is so high. With Canada, it's a very, very, I mean, they're talking about doubling the population through immigrants from India and stuff, and it's like, I mean, that's real. That should not be. That's no way to move your country forward. Because at what point is it really not your country anymore? What's Trump's success rate on his military operations? Isn't he 100% always flawless with 0 American soldier casualty? Yeah, no, he does do a very good job with that 100%. 100%. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but they are very targeted strikes, and we can argue about what happened with Iran and how many of the facilities and centrifuges got destroyed, but they're very targeted. They're precise, and it's a get in get out operation with Trump on any targeted strike. He does these targeted strikes. Maybe your viewers won't need to show the ID if the AI detects U.S. politics channel. Dude, the thing is, I'm not even sure it's specifically channel. It's not related to a single channel. It's based off of, as far as I know, it's based off of what you watch. I mean, you could watch my videos, but obviously you're going to watch other content on YouTube. It's not just my videos. So I think that might be what it is, but I don't know. Thoughts on the state of New York City if Mondani wins the election? I think it's it might push it further to the right long term. Short term, we'll see. I don't think Mondani can do a ton of what he wants to as mayor. I don't think he has that power. So to me, it's a lot. You're going to have a lot of fear. It's politically advantageous for conservatives probably if he wins. I mean, it depends what he's able to implement, but it could long term be a good thing in pushing New York further to the right. I mean, for the citizens, it's probably not going to be very good. I would imagine. I mean, a lot of the policies he's talking about have been tried over and over again in a lot. Well, I mean, you could argue better or worse climate, but this is a climate to where you're surrounded by capitalism. It's going to be very, very challenging for him to do anything. But the fundamental idea of the policies do not work. And I know the whole idea, well, we want everyone to have money and things like that, but it just does not work in actual practice. In actual pure economics, does not work. What the policies that he's proposing. And some of these liberals realize it, and so they're a lot more skittish, but but you have to understand that the demographic that got Mondani elected, it was 20-year-old liberal white women spoiled. So, I mean, good luck with that. All right, I'll see whatever this clip is.
Need the 700 millimeter. That'll get you done.
Oh my goodness. Man shot near Logan Circle. Was it a protester?
No? Should you tell him? All right, bye.
Do you think Mexican Hispanic immigrants are the same level of threat as Muslim African ones, or do you feel that they are closer to our population in terms of views? I think it's a case by case. I mean, I think on average, I would, I think prefer the Mexican Hispanic. Have you ever thought about an alternate history situation where 9/11 happened in a European major city instead of New York City? I'm not sure. I mean, because think about the Twin Towers and the uniqueness of them. It really couldn't have happened anywhere else in the way in which both the towers were hit and then collapsed. It's a very, very rare thing. Just even the towers being there, and so I don't think so. I don't think it could have happened in the same way. I mean, there's other attacks that could have been crazy on scale if they were followed through with, but the Twin Towers with planes hitting buildings and then the buildings collapsing like 30 minutes later. First female ump this past weekend in MLB. I know. I was the thing with MLB is it's whatever. I was like, do we really need this? Seriously? Why do we need this? Why do we need to do it? They've had with MLB, they've had the female referees, I think, in football for a little bit. I've seen female refs in basketball. And so now the MLB is doing it. But look, I would just see, imagine if she's terrible. I mean, let's just see how bad she is. I mean, apparently she wasn't very good in the first game. And so let's just see. But I think it's like, do we have to do this? It's like female cops to a degree, I mean, but it just depends on how good or bad she is. It's really irrelevant. They're going to bring in the robot umps anyways. CPI report tomorrow. Yeah, they're getting all excited because it's 2.8 now. Oh, it went up by 0.1. Yeah, that'll be great to deal with. We have to deal with like fucking these liberals going crazy. It goes up by 0.1% compared to what it was under Biden. There'd be updates. It would go up by like 0.8%. It's up by 0.1. Okay. How on the skill level do you think it would take a pilot to hit the Pentagon at that angle? Yeah, I mean it's an airplane. Airplanes are meant to be flown. People have to understand with airplanes. Look, I'm not gonna do this because people say, "Well, you're just a you're just a simp for the government, and you believe anything." But airplanes are meant to be flown. You can fly airplanes and do maneuvers with airplanes. People can do it. I could probably do maneuvers with airplanes within 30 minutes of taking control of one. They don't make airplanes. I mean, yeah, it's sophisticated, but if it's already up, and you can do maneuvers. Look, I'm not. The thing is there's no eyewitnesses. That why would they crash a fucking? Why would they risk that being found out? Why would they crash a missile into the fucking Pentagon? There's no casualties. Nobody really cares about it. It's irrelevant. It's a fucking horizontal building. It's not tall. It wasn't even really thought about. Do you support women being in combat roles in the military? I personally don't think they should be in combat roles. I think it's a liability. But I thought they weren't. I mean, I guess how do you define combat roles? But I think it's, you have to understand the differences between men and women, and tourism isn't a part of a healthy economy. I don't know what that argument was. I'd have to look up. If you think about it, it wasn't even that crazy of a maneuver. It was just lowering the plane. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, it was to a degree because at a certain point, I mean, you're basically crashing it right up against the fucking ground. So you're basically almost landing the plane right into the fucking building. I mean, that is a pretty impressive maneuver for somebody, for who was it, Hanji Hanjor who did that? I mean, that dude wasn't even a good. He was the worst one, they said. The worst pilot. Did you see the Chinese Navy ship ramming the Chinese Coast Guard? Yeah, there's some friendly fire. I was wondering, when I first started reading that, I was like, oh my goodness, a Chinese ship collided with a Taiwanese ship and it's going to be terrible, but they was just friendly fire. U.S. steel explosion in Pittsburgh. I didn't see that. Trump is going to end the war in Ukraine on Friday with his meeting with Putin, question mark. There's going to be strategy up his sleeve. It won't go well, probably. Yeah, I don't think it'll go well. I don't know if you saw what Trump said. I just saw what Trump said. I don't think it's going to go well. Trump has to... There's going to have to be some pull, really, with Putin and with Western Europe and Ukraine, and I don't really see it happening. I mean, maybe because there's these new threats introduced by Trump, but I don't know. Are sanctions really going to go on Russia, and what type of sanctions are they going to be? I'm concerned about that. Mother and son arrested trying to flee country following streetcar racing crash. Imagine you're freaking on the tarmac. You're like about to leave the country. Go to a country where they can't extradite you back. And they nab you. They nab you right before. World Trade Center 7 controlled demolition, yes or no? Well, you know, when you watch the demolition... Yeah, I was going to do a video on it. I don't want to do it because... But you need to think... When you watch the demolition of Building 7, the way the building falls, the core of the building falls before the outer shell. So the core of the building, and you can see this with the building on top of the roof, which it's a mechanical penthouse. The mechanical penthouse and the interior of the building fall before the exterior. When people see it collapse, they think it all just comes down the same. It's not true. And you can see through some of the windows like sunlight because the interior of the building is already collapsed. The outer walls are still standing for about 5 or 6 seconds after. It's an interior... I mean, you understand Building 7 was built on an electrical subway. The structural foundation of Building 7 was very unique in the way it was built. But you should go look and see the way in which it collapsed. People don't really understand the fact that the interior of the building fell before the outer shell of the building. That is what happened legitimately. World Trade Center 7 was engulfed in flames and collapsed from the interior first. Well, it had heavy structure fires from debris and things of that nature. I mean, it's just there's a lot of problems with the theories because why would they wait 5 hours to collapse Building 7 after it was fully evacuated? I mean, I get the idea that there were important documents in the basement. But it seems like there's a more efficient way to do that. Silverstein told them to pull it. Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about, the PBS interview in 2002. Trust me, I've watched it. But if you need to see the context of that. Twin Towers sacrificed themselves for advanced airport security. Yeah, they sacrificed themselves for us having to take our shoes off, and now look at this, we've come full circle. We don't have to take our shoes off anymore. I mean, there is certain things that Trump is doing. I'm not even saying that's a big thing, but there is certain thing that Trump are doing. There's common sense things now that Trump is able to do, and I do like some of the stuff. Seems like we're actually getting at least some type of tangible results from a new administration. Didn't the whole Building 7 theory start after Silverstein said to pull it? Well, it was that, and also it was the way in which it collapsed. The way in which it collapsed, people say, is but again, the way in which it collapsed is not, it's not really, you know, people think it just fell altogether. The interior of the building fell, the outer shell remained standing. You know, it's like the fucking the core. You know, how do you rig explosives to a building? And, you know, the explosives would be within the core. How does the core stay standing after with both the Twin Towers? And where the explosives are rigged right where the impact of the plane was. But oh my goodness, dude. I don't even know what this is. It's like this alerts thing. Musk filing a lawsuit against Apple. Antitrust issues. Grok suspended. Yeah, see, I don't know how that happens. They gotta have something on that would keep Grok from ever getting suspended, but... Will Tesla launch a driverless robo-taxi service? Will Mr. Beast raise $40 million? Oh, you see people talking about Mr. Beast raising that water for people in Africa. Russia announces air truce. Oh, come on. We don't want a fucking air truce, man. We want some type of tangible agreement. Does Myles Garrett get suspended for reckless endangerment driving? No. No. Yeah, I know about. I saw that. I saw where he got pulled over. No, you don't get suspended for getting a ticket. I mean, those guys are just the idea of going 100 miles per hour is just in a 60. There's a problem, man. There's just a lack for other people's safety. It's a problem. Best Pringles, the sour cream and onion. I'd say I haven't had Pringles in a long time. Titans. I appreciate that, man. Guys, the people are mad he's not helping them instead. Who, Trump? Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, that situation. Israel's got to end that, man. Israel is, dude. For Israel, I hope this was worth it for them. The perception of Israel has been completely shot. The opinion of Israel in the United States, and they can say, well, we got Gaza and we got the West Bank, dude. It's gonna be the reliance on the United States is gonna dwindle, and for them, I don't know if this is worth it. You know, obviously they wanted the Palestinians out of that territory, but you're probably going to lose the United States. I mean, there's just too many people that are against Israel at this point. And it's probably going to take years for it to come to fruition, but here's what happens if we decide to stop arming Israel, its pissed off neighbors will. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends. I mean, it is a holy land. I hear you, but at a certain point, it's like the problem with Israel is also the meddling into you, and it's just in gen. I mean, we honestly, I don't know if that's for sure going to happen. I mean, you think there'll be a major? I mean, there was a war in between like 5 Arab countries and Israel won. But that's a situation that we don't want to be dealing with. It's a biblical area. Yeah, they recently established their country right after World War II. I mean, it's Trump signing 401k crypto. I thought he already signed that, man. I think he signed that. He signed the 401k crypto executive order. Should you pull out of you have 37,000 in a Roth IRA, I don't, how old are you? You have 37k in a Roth IRA. I don't know what the crypto 401k consists of exactly. I mean, what is it? Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP? I mean, it's probably a combination of stocks and crypto. 9/11 conspiracy that has the most validity to, I mean, there's foreign countries that knew that was going to happen. You're 32. Well, I mean, it's still relatively young. 32 is still relatively young. I would say it depends, but realistically, 401ks in general. I mean, I understand for security, retirement, things like that, but I'm not a big fan of 401ks. But yeah, you get into crypto, I'd have to see exactly what was involved. It probably will be a better return than a fucking 401k. You get to the crypto stuff. Titans, I appreciate that. A kid got crushed and killed by an aid pallet dropped from a plane, and then they got mad at the aid. You can't win with these people. Is that a real story? They how high did they drop the aid pallet from? What, a helicopter? Wow. Odds of Netanyahu annexing the Gaza Strip. See, this is where it gets interesting. I'm not sure if they're really going to call it an annex. You know, Israel's in a very bad, public relations wise, they're in a very bad state. I'm not sure if they will. I think it will be some type of. I don't know how they're going to word it. I don't think they're going to word it as an annexation, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be before 2026. I think it could happen. I think it's probably about a 40% chance of it happening. $32, you need to invest that money yourself. 401k. Yeah, 401k, it's just you're earning at such a slow rate. Again, but we don't know his financial situation and his risk tolerance. It comes down to risk tolerance, things like that. Yeah, that is true. We all have died from a care package. Care package falls on top of you in BO1 and you died. Military helicopters bring them in. You used to when you're a bad player, you get 5 kills, you could get anything from a care package. It was kind of fun. But obviously, you're a better player. The care package it's annoying because you gotta fucking wait for it to be dropped. Can I put meme coins in a 401k? I mean, no, you can. I don't think you can do that. Now, the 401k is just going to be like actual utility shit. It's probably just the big players, if I had to guess. BitTensor is a good safer coin. It's like the AI version of Bitcoin. Basically, it's a decentralized AI coin. There's so many agents on it. BitTensor, what is it, like 4 billion right now? It could go to 100. Yeah, it could go to 100 billion. That's a 25x. You think it would be worth going to America 250 next year in DC? The celebration? Yeah, I mean, there's not really going to be another celebration like that, I wouldn't think, because think about it. Trump's in 250. So I would say it's probably worth it. I mean, the parade that they had, I think, was kind of... There's some issues with the parade that they had. I wasn't a big fan of it. But, you know, the 250 celebration, I think that, you know, it needs to be improved. We need the soldiers to... It was... I don't know what the parade was this past June. It was... I don't think Trump liked it either, just looking at him. Is preseason not real football? Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised at the amount of stars playing in the preseason this year. I feel like that was kind of going away, but they're pretty much all playing in it now. Clean up in DC, fascism. Yeah, I know. I mean, they're going to be mad at anything Trump does. Anytime Trump uses executive authority, they're going to be mad. It is what it is. Yeah, I saw the 70-yard field goal. You heard the hijackers weren't taught how to take off or land the planes. Yeah, no, they didn't care about it. They might have been taught it, but they didn't care about it. They weren't interested in learning about it. Will the Washington whatevers be good this year? I mean, they were good last year. The Commanders. I mean, I think they should probably be pretty good. All new NFL stadiums should be like the Bills, no dome. No, 100% I agree with you. I think it's a big problem. This is just no actual oversight from the NFL. If I was the commissioner, there would be there would be a major incentive to build open air stadiums. We need open air stadiums. Bottom line. The Browns need an open air stadium. The Bears need an open air stadium. You can make the stadiums, if you want, with some type of overhang that helps protect the fans. You could have advanced heating systems. You could use the technology. Although I wouldn't really want overhangs either. I think overhangs are bad. They look bad. That's what Europe does. But all these dome stadiums are going to make the game a lot more boring. Do you think that communists should give their organizations money to build their stadiums? Careful what you answer. You might actually be getting the communist funding. What do you mean communist? I don't. What are you talking about? The relation of public-private money? The Vikings do have a good stadium, yeah. Falcons Stadium is the best. Well, you're a Falcons fan, so of course you would say that. Of course you would say that. Man, there's so many indoor stadiums. Ford Field, yeah. There's gonna be 20. There's gonna be like 22 dome stadiums by like 2040. I think 22 out of 30. It wouldn't surprise me. It might even be more than that, honestly, if I like calculated it. Why don't they just heat the field and have drain? Because it's not even about that. They want to host events year round. It's more lucrative to be able to host events in the winter, like concerts and things like that. Makes the venue more flexible. I mean, you dump that much money into it, but it also makes it, takes away from the actual atmosphere. You have domes. This is another one of those things. We went through the cookie cutter stadiums. Now it's these domes. So this is our era. And they'll eventually, I think, get out of it. At a certain point, it's going to bore the fuck out of people. And in like 2060, they're going to start building open air stadiums again. Or who even knows what they'll be in 2060. With the way the NFL is going, who knows? Yeah, being outside is a lot better. In general, it's a lot better. I mean, it does get cold in the winter, but September, October, being outside for football is normally pretty much in every stadium that's outdoor. It's going to be good weather, maybe a little jacket. You get to November, it gets colder, and then December's very cold. But all right, guys, I'm gonna do it for this. That's gonna do it for this live stream. I'm gonna end it there. Drill bit. Thank you for the $3. I appreciate it. You think indoor stadiums can have a nice vibe to them? I think it's tough. I mean, they're definitely better. They're definitely more comfortable. Will you buy the dip? I've already bought the dip. I mean, I'm in, bro. There is a bit of a dip, isn't there? It's a little bit of a dip. So a little bit of a dip with some of these coins. These SPX ranging. Yeah, this coin, we'll see if it can break this. See if it can break this like 1.5 million range. All right, guys, we'll see you.